What is up, YouTube? Scottoria here with a brand new Path of Exile Echoes of the Atlas, a 3.13 video. Now, they're releasing a bunch of new content, which is what we vaguely covered in the last video. This one's going to be a little bit more specific about the Atlas passive tree for each region that's going to be added into the game. Now, personally, initially looking at it, I was super excited about it, and I already knew that there was going to be all sorts of ways to leverage this in our favor to generate massive amounts of profits doing what we enjoy doing in the game. However, now that I've taken a little bit closer look at it, I've noticed there's even more busted possibilities with it, and we don't even have all the information yet. We just have a sliver of it. From my understanding, GGG is going to be announcing more of the information about the different passive trees across the different regions, particularly ones that I'm kind of curious about are stuff like Delirium, etc. That should be released tomorrow. However, what we have today is what I'm going to present, and some of the information that I feel as though will be easily leveraged in our favor that could benefit us in the long run. I'll still put out. But before we begin, I want to say if you enjoy my content, I do appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button down below. If you have any kind of questions, concerns, or input you want to put about this matter, please feel free to add a comment down below in the comment section. Something else I want to put out there that's kind of special to me, on all my live streaming content on Twitch, I've actually removed my donation button and replaced it with a charity button for StackUp. I personally have been working with this charity organization for the last couple of years in the gaming industry, and I do feel as though they have genuinely do what they're preaching to do. If that makes sense. Being a veteran myself, I think they do great work, and the link down below if you want to help contribute toward this charity will be there, as well as, like I said, on all my live streams, twitch.tv/Scottoria. My donation button has been removed. I'm putting that up there instead for the entire duration of the year 2021. So then, anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into it. I am super excited about this, particularly because I personally am a big fan of the Temple of Atzoatl. What kind of a Scottoria video is it going to be if I don't mispronounce something? Azaro. Anyway, so incursion is one of my favorite mechanics, or one of my favorites. Not the favorite, but it's one of them. And I enjoy farming it primarily because it's incredibly lucrative. Those of you guys that have been around for the TFT Discord server, a link I'm going to have down below. No, I'm not sponsored or affiliated at all by them. However, it is a great tool that will probably be coming to life with the implementation of Harvest being included into the game now. The last two leagues, the Corruption Chamber, particularly in the Temple of Atzoatl, has sold from anywhere between 7 to 9 Exalt just for someone to come and use the Corruption Room itself. Who knows, if they hit some good rolls, they might even tip you even more. But just for hitting that, a tier 3, excuse me, let me reiterate, it has to be a tier 3 Corruption Chamber. And that's not it. There's also Sacrifice Chambers, which allow you to turn items like the Mask of the Spirit Drinker, upgrade it and sell it for more valuable. Chains, was it Coward's Legacy? There's a number of unique items that you can just buy the base item and the vial, take it to the sacrificial chamber and upgrade it. We might make a whole video. If you guys are interested in an actual full video about the temple and like the best ways to leverage it, I'll do that. I'm not going to get too much into detail as to like what the best rooms are, but there's actually a solid amount of them that you can really leverage in your favor. So the temple is already very lucrative itself. Now, what if I told you whenever you're running the temple, you can help mitigate the rooms that is being spawned, so that way you actually get presented the rooms you were actually wanting to upgrade, i.e. in this case, the Corruption Chamber, as well as being able to get more tier 3 rooms. Even rooms that aren't like super lucrative, like the Corruption Chamber or Sacrifice Chamber, even something like the Healing Pools. So once you get it to tier 3, you actually have an opportunity to, it drops pretty decent items, which could be fairly good for crafting, especially with Harvest being introduced in the game. But it also has the opportunity to drop the Mask of the Spirit Drinker, which in itself usually sells for about 2 or 3 Exalt. So having a tier 3 room in general, regardless of which room it is, has it could yield some pretty good stuff. But regardless, you're able to then block and get the actual rooms you want. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop straight into this. And I wanted to explain that early on so you guys kind of see where my train of thought is going to go with this. So each region, as you can see, actually, let's go ahead and bring up this map first. So each region is going to have like its own separate passive skill tree. From our understanding, this is the information we're being presented, and these are some analytical analysis I have done initially looking at it. So in this particular case, let's go ahead and look at Glenart Cairns, which is going to be zoomed in here. For the Atzoatl, Temple of Atzoatl incursion. Let's call it incursion because I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly. So the incursion notables are very, very interesting in the sense that the top one, once you hit 4 passives, well, actually, let's go in order, right? So we go resource reallocation. Killing non-resident architects in an area has a 50% chance to add an additional upgrade tier to the surviving architect's room. So you have a 50-50 shot of whenever you initially get presented a room in the temple, and you select one where the architect is a non-resident. What that means is you'll notice whenever you come across a room. Actually, I can kind of show you from my temple. So let's go right here, pits, right? So this one is not an actual room yet. It's not a shrine of empowerment, pools of restoration. It's not a designated room. It's just a blank, neutral, meaningless room right now. It doesn't have any particular specialties behind it. So whenever I get presented with this room, I'm going to have 2 different architects appear presented to me right here at the top. And both of them will have a little swirly symbol, I guess you can call it. Little arrows are rotating. Those are non-residents. That means those architects do not currently reside in that temple. So right now, the Shrine of Empowerment, that architect is the current resident of it because that's a specialty room right there. So the resident for that will have a little upgrade emblem next to it whenever you're presented with the options here. So the non-resident will be the swirly looking arrows thing, and the resident will be the upgrade button. And then sometimes you'll have 2 non-residents for rooms like this, which don't have a specialty. If that doesn't make sense to you guys, please feel free to ask in the comments down below. I can kind of iterate that a little bit better there. So whenever you choose a non-resident, you have a 50% chance to then upgrade the room. So it'll go not only from a tier 1 straight to a tier, it'll go straight to a tier 2, which is absolutely nuts. And then once we get to the next major node, we're looking at killing resident architects in areas adds their upgraded tier to the surviving architect's room. So it just guarantees an upgrade. So let's say you're presented in our temple, for example, the Shrine of Empowerment, or more importantly, let's go with the Pools of Restoration, because this is actually the room I was telling you about before about getting the Mask of the Spirit Drinker. It is not a guarantee for that mask, by the way. It's just an opportunity to get it. So if I were to be presented with this room and I had that notable, we would automatically go from 1 to 3 from the way it was reading. So we take out the resident for it. Killing the resident, it'll go straight to 3. If I'm mistaken in this, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But if I'm not mistaken here, that to me sounds completely busted. That means 2 things. 1, all I have to do is get presented this room 1 time. Bear in mind, this could be corruption chamber or any kind of other valuable room we have just naturally inherently spawn in the Atlas that will just immediately go to tier 3. But once it's tier 3, we're not going to get presented this room anymore. So how many times, let me ask you guys, how many times whenever you spawn a temple, do you have something like a corruption room over here or a sack room over here, and then you actually never get the opportunity to upgrade it? She never offers you that room the entire 12 incursions you have. I know personally that happens to me all the time. Now, if we're able to block rooms off, so once we get this to 3, she's never going to offer it again. We're not going to get offered this room. Once we get this to 3, she's not going to offer it. So it'll start to slowly mitigate our odds toward getting rooms that we are actively seeking. That is the way I'm looking at it right now, which is absolutely nuts. It's absolutely bonkers. Like I said, I get corruption chamber spawn all the time on my temple. Not always, but all the time. I just never get presented them to be upgraded. So if I'm able to mitigate those rooms that she offers with 12 incursions, and once it's at least level 1, being able to immediately bump it to 3, is an absolutely bonkers way to leverage this new mechanic. Now, some of you guys out there that are looking to do things like simulacrum splinter farming, etc. from Delirium, we don't know what's on the Zena map device, so we don't really know the proper methods yet, but this is something to kind of keep in mind and put in your toolbox. Generally speaking, whenever we're running like our tropical islands farms and stuff, we're usually in incursion is a big one, beyond, of course, and then Legion. So not only are all 3 of these available in Glenart Cairns, and once again, I don't know where the maps are going to be at in the Atlas. They haven't revealed that yet. But if we do have a great Delirium Splinter farming situation presented to us in Glenart Cairns, imagine this setup. Bear with me, right? So obviously I feel as though all four, just from personal preference, all four incursions should be taken. That's what I'm going to do, because I like to farm incursion. And then also we also want Legion encounters. Now, whenever we use a Legion Scarab, which is what we usually use whenever we're running these type of farming situations, if a natural Legion were to spawn, it adds in addition to the Scarab. So we use a Scarab regardless to guarantee a Legion encounter. And then if there was a Legion that was automatically just naturally spawned onto that map, it'll be in addition to, which is even more quant, which is nuts. So areas have a 10% additional chance to contain a Legion encounter. It's actually incredibly favorable for us. Initially thinking, you're like, initially going into it, you're like, hey, if I'm using a Legion Scarab, like that's just kind of a wasted, no, because that's a huge amount of pack density right there. And then instead of pathing over to protracted battle, we look at something like face-to-face, where Legion encounters in the area are 100% more likely to include a general. And then not only that, but we're also getting more generals. Legion encounters with a general in areas have both generals. And then they drop 100% more timeless splinters, which is also really good. But I'm more referring to some of our more like delirium, splinter farming, etc. And then of course, obviously, farming for splinters, it works hand in hand, just absolutely bonkers. So we get allotted 10 passive points for these new skill trees per region. So in this case, we're looking at 4 points being spent here, 4 points being spent here. That's 8. And then if we go straight to Scent of Blood, slaying enemies close together in areas has a 3% chance to attract monsters from beyond. That to me turns a double beyond map into a triple beyond map. Absolutely nuts being able to spawn more and more of those beyond characters. And even if you're not really too much into the incursion side of it, if you are more leaning toward the delirium side, we could also go more like removing this last tier here and go Torn Veil, where you're getting an additional and greater portals from those beyond mechanics, and then kind of working your way toward seeing where you're going to get the most quant. So this is something I just kind of wanted to express, and something I wanted to put a video out. Obviously, there's other things that incredibly add so much value to players that want to specifically do their own farming techniques and things that they personally enjoy doing in this game. Something I do want to kind of touch base on. I'm pretty sure everyone's already just kind of noticed. I'm not really preaching anything new here. Is the addition of the delve nodes that are going to be in stuff like Blex Proxima. This is obviously going to be absolutely nuts for delvers. We're going to see delvers going way deeper into the mines, having so much sulfite readily available to us. Something I do want to add, I'm a little bit curious about, and I just kind of want to call it now. If this is going to make an impact on the delve economy with regards to fractured fossils, some of the fossils we're getting out of there, as well as scarabs. I know scarabs and fossils were going for quite a bit this last league. To be fair, this last economic endeavor and heist was already a little bit nuts with the introduction of some of those trinkets and blueprint, duplications and stuff like that. That's not going away. So we're still going to see an influx of profits from that little farming strategy people are doing. But since sulfite's going to be a lot more readily available, I am kind of curious if that's going to make a visual impact on the economy with that regard, and to include different delirium orbs, etc. So without further ado, guys, I appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. If there's something I might have missed, please feel free to share. This is just some stuff that I noticed during my analysis of what we currently know that really stood out to me and really popped, that I just kind of want to share with you. I'm really excited for the next video. And honestly, before you ask, I am still a little bit on the fence as to which build I want to go with. I'm kind of bouncing between two specific ones, but we can talk a little bit more in the Discord server. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'll see you again next time.